On this week's show, it's more great Black Friday tips from bfads.net, plus our own picks as well. We also have more great pro wrestling talk, Week 11 in the NFL, Thanksgiving cooking tips, what do we think of Justice League, and will I drive Tyler Baker nuts? All this and more as Turkey Day approaches as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back once again with another edition of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. And it's a special edition because I'll tell you what, not only do we have great pro wrestling talk lined up for you, great Black Friday talk lined up for you, great holiday cooking lineup, great Thanksgiving cooking talk lined up for you. But we've got my good friend from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast stepping in for the supposedly sick Josh Peterson from Humanity Media, by the way. It's Tyler Baker, once again, from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. What's going on, Tyler?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'll tell you what, I'm doing great. It's Turkey Week. It's just waiting for those great meals later this week. And I'll tell you what, it's just great having you sub in for today's show for a full hour of great talk in the pop culture realm. Got a lot of great stuff to cover this week. But first off, before we head into everything else, we got to talk about this weekend's big box office hit, Justice League. Well, it was kind of a hit.
Yeah.
Not $96 million at the domestic box office and almost $300 million worldwide. Normally would be great.
Yeah.
But it did not meet expectations from most Hollywood pundits, seeing how they were thinking about being $110 million here domestically and over the 300 mark. But it still did pretty good. But with critics and fans, it's kind of a mixed bag. And we have both seen the film, and we've got our thoughts on it. So I will ask you, Tyler, what are your thoughts on how it all shook down with the Justice League?
Well, it's a big first step, bringing all those superheroes together. And yeah, I was a little let down too. I thought it was going to be a little bit better. And I don't want to pick it apart. And I didn't like this, but just overall, it was a huge release. And I kind of expected it to be a little bit better. I thought the characters and the plot line would be a little bit more compelling. It kind of wasn't. There were definitely some parts of the movie that I really enjoyed. And then there were some parts that I thought just kind of fell short of expectation.
You know what? I think you're exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. And by the way, it's going to be maybe some touching on some slight spoilerish stuff. So you want to make sure if you haven't seen the film and you're dying to see it and you don't want to hear any spoilers, you may want to turn it down just a little bit or head right after the break when we talk to Ben Arnaud from bfads.net. So just want to let you know on that. But I did want to say that Justice League for me was not good as far as overall the structure, but good enough to be entertaining. I'll tell you that, okay, it had a lot of issues, but there was enough good things from it that I would give it a slight thumbs up. For me, I like the interaction between the characters. To me, that made the most enjoyable aspect of the film. The story itself, emulating a lot of what we've already seen from the Marvel Universe, was not exactly the most thrilling in the world. That was substandard. The villain, taking a step out of Marvel with most of their movies, the villain was also substandard as well. As far as Steppenwolf, he didn't get his motor running. And it's just, sorry, that was an inside joke there.
That was very good.
It wasn't actually very strong. It was just a CG character that really didn't come off that well. And actually, by the end, you were just pretty much he just was very, very weak when at the very end after supposedly being so strong in the beginning. And it was just a shame. And they're already emulating Marvel with a possible dark side as far as overall Thanos style universe takeover that might be coming on the horizon, because he was mentioned in the film as far as the actual, two directors with Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder. You could, as Josh had mentioned on a previous show, the PCC Multiverse, he had said, and I agree with him, that you could see the the disjointed direction. Some scenes that were kept in that were Zack Snyder's, and some scenes that were put in by Joss Whedon. A lot of the reshoots that were done, you could see which one, pretty much tell which ones were done when. And for the first third of it was really, really just very hard to follow, because they did a lot of, well, meanwhile it's here, and then they would just spend 2 minutes of it. Meanwhile over here, 2 minutes. Meanwhile over here, and it just hopscotched all over the place. And it was just really, that was you lose a lot of the audience by doing that, and that's the problem. And especially with Aquaman's character as well, you spent like a cup of coffee learning anything around him and his background. It was just, that was truly disappointing, because that could have been the most interesting part of Justice League right there. And you barely spent, like I said, like maybe the time it takes to get a Java for, it's just it's done. And he is someone that you have ideas for building his own solo movie around. And whether you're saying, oh, we're going to try and save it for that time, you got to wet our whistle at some point in time. And believe me, it needed more than that on that end.
And the same thing with Cyborg. Like this guy, he's still alive because of these boxes. And they really didn't develop that. He was just kind of there. And you're right, it was the same thing with Aquaman. He was just kind of there. Whereas we've seen enough Batman and Superman movies. We kind of know who those characters are. The Wonder Woman movie came out. We're starting to understand who that is, but we don't know who Aquaman and Cyborg are. And they really just didn't do much to develop those characters.
And not really a whole lot with Flash either, outside of seeing his dad in prison and accentuating that. And if you've seen the CW, you've seen that to death already. So that's not. I would have liked to seen a little bit more development on how they perceived Flash got his Flash abilities. That would have been great. But the problem is, you've only intermixed Cyborg and Flash and Aquaman real briefly in previous DC films, i.e., BVS. And Josh said it right. Josh hit it right on the head on the Friday show when he said you had all these movies to set up all these characters within the Marvel universe, whereas in DC they've only devoted their previous amount of films to 97% of Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and you've only devoted so much time to those three. The other three just feel like add-ons. And you also want to put Green Lantern in there. You hinted at Green Lantern before in that beginning montage, as far as where they were battling the previous battle with Steppenwolf. You were taught that there's Green Lantern shown then, so obviously you're hinting that. Well, it's it was in the title screen. If you notice that Green Lantern's there, so can't help but know that Green Lantern's coming sooner than later. But I'll tell you right now, it was kind of disappointing to see how they laid out the story, and it could have been so much better. And I see why people are giving it negative reviews, because there's just the villain, and when you have a bad story, a bad villain just compounds it even more. And sticks out so much more when you have, like, let's say Civil War, or a few of the other Marvel movies that have not really had good villains, but the story and interaction have been so strong that you're willing to take a pass on the Marvel villains and treat them, okay, that's the one a day throwaway Marvel villain character. Okay, no problem. He's gone by the next movie. But with DC, they need strong foundations at this point in time. And you have so much goodwill from this Wonder Woman movie. And unfortunately, they weren't able to go ahead and execute it fully. Although I know you had issues with Batman. I will say the Batman character interacting with Wonder Woman, to me, probably was the best interaction as far as that chemistry that they have together. I think that's probably the most intriguing aspect, and that's something I want to see more of going forward for the DC universe.
Absolutely. Yeah, they had some good chemistry. I did like the Flash, of course. He kind of brought a little bit of comedy, and for what Spider-Man did with Marvel, you kind of have Flash doing there with the DC universe. But it's nice to have kind of that lovable kid that's a little mistake prone, maybe in a little bit over his head, and trying to come into his abilities, and how that fits in with kind of the veterans there, the veteran superheroes. So I did like Flash too. I liked.
He was good. I just didn't think he was developed enough as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it was almost like he was there just because the movie was dark and they had to have they had to have a couple chuckles in there. They couldn't make the entire movie just so dark that you're right, but they didn't develop him. He was there and he kind of served the purpose in the plot. But yeah, I think outside the characters that we already know, the ones that we kind of didn't know, they just didn't develop very well. And I think that's what makes the movie so disappointing, because this is the first big step and you're just looking at it like, man,
Exactly. And there was so much potential there to do a lot better. Like I said, there's enough there that it creates an interesting story for me, and enough to make it a slight thumbs up and entertaining, whatnot. It's certainly leagues better than BVS, because BVS was just some dark stuff that I just could not tolerate. And then following that up with Suicide Squad, which I had to be, I don't know how they did it, but it was even darker and lamer than BVS, although both were pretty bad.
I didn't like it at all. Yeah.
And then they create this great thing with Wonder Woman, which is does a complete 180 from what they're doing, and it's just so good. I could when it came to Justice League, you could see Joss Whedon's influence with the Marvel Universe and the Avengers in that film, being a little bit brighter, but still some very dark tones, because obviously that's what Zack Snyder had created in the time that he was working on the film before he unfortunately had to leave due to family issues. So there was so much more potential. There was so much potential for more in this film, and I don't think they reached it. But that doesn't mean I want this DC to end, this DC Films universe to end. I definitely want to see more.
Yeah, it wasn't a total flop. It wasn't a bomb. It was, I know my perception of it was skewed a little bit because I knew that this was kind of a big deal and I was just expecting a little bit more. Will I buy it and watch it, when it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD? Yeah, I will. But am I going to go see it again in the theaters? No.
Well, it's just you have to compare it to Avengers. You have to do the first original Avengers. There's just no avoiding it, especially the fact that the director of the Avengers took over and worked on it. The fact that it is the first ensemble movie for the DC universe, as compare it to the first ensemble movie for the Marvel Avengers. They hit all the right buttons on the Avengers, and it just seemed like they didn't and couldn't do the same for DC, which is a shame. But like I said, I watched it, and I still, even though with all the issues aside, and the cut scenes at the end, especially the last one, giving me maybe a little bit more interest about wanting to see more in the future. I'll leave it at that. But I do have interest in seeing more. I haven't shut off or written off the DC franchises as of yet. I was close to doing so after Suicide Squad, but Wonder Woman did give me hope. And like I said, she was still very, very strong in this film. Gal Gadot actually she's got that charisma, and that just, as I said it before back in when it came out and I reviewed it, she's just got that magnetism when it comes to that role.
And it's not just because she's beautiful. I mean, she is truly a beautiful woman, but just the way that she embodies the Wonder Woman character. No, she's spot on. Perfect. Best.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's what she has. And that's unfortunately at this point in time, the DC Films universe has to now just go on her shoulders, literally. So Wonder Woman 2 now is even more important, that it has to hit on those same notes again, which is almost unfair because you're putting so much pressure on a film to succeed because of all the past failures of everything else. And even though we don't want to say Justice League is a failure, we definitely think it didn't quite cut up to the mustard, and there just should have been a little bit more there for fans to chew on.
A little bit disappointing, not terrible, but if anyone can put the entire DC universe on her shoulders and carry them, Wonder Woman can.
Absolutely, indeed. What are your thoughts on Justice League? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Since the reviews are all over the place, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of each. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. It's going to be an awesome show. We've got all this great stuff lined up for you for this Thanksgiving week Pop Culture Cosmos show. We truly appreciate you checking in with us and you listening and all that good stuff. We've got Ben Arno back again from bfads.net. That's bfads.net. The leader in Black Friday information. He's going to be stopping by once again, giving us more Black Friday tips and picks to shout out for. And later on, at the end of the show, this man right here, Tyler Baker, and I, we're going to be giving our best picks for Black Friday. So you definitely want to hear that as well. Speaking of picks, we also got to talk about Tyler Baker. Also recapping Week 11 in the NFL. He's going to break down in the middle of the show just his thoughts on what happened this weekend in the NFL. We've also got Mike Crockett from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. He's going to talk a little bit about the independent scene, what's going on there with all the great action, including ROH, including Impact, and so much more. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And Ben Arno stops by from the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast and SmokingHotConfessions.com. He's going to bring some Thanksgiving tips for you cooking out there. One is actually right up his alley when it concerns a traditional form of Thanksgiving cooking. And one is completely out of the box. So you got to hear that. And I'll tell you what, it is so delicious as he describes it. It just made my mouth water as I was just listening to him talk about that. So I was like, oh, made me so hungry after hearing those tips. And tell you what, if you try either of those two tips, you're going to be having a great Thanksgiving indeed. And he, like I said, he's going to be stopping by later in the program with those two tips on Thanksgiving cooking. So that's definitely a great indeed. But it all starts right here with our good friend Chad from Hyperschmidt. And this is Find You. And this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back with the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate it. It was Week 11 in the NFL and some great things going on. And who better to break it down? Another great week in the NFL as we get closer to the fantasy football playoffs. It is Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. You got to, and I'm telling you, every Tuesday and Saturday, it's a must listen. It's the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. You got to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, Overcast.fm, Player.fm, and SoundCloud. Tyler, you're back again.
Yes, sir.
After being on our first segment, just the pressure was on to just spew that pop culture out, and you did great so far. So I ask you, what are some of the things that you took away from Week 11 in the NFL?
Man, there were some great games today. Oh my gosh. Most of them I've seen, some of them I haven't yet. But we saw the 7-2 Rams and the 7-2 Vikings battle it out. It was such a good game. And I'm telling you, both of these teams are very good. We're going to see both of these teams in the playoffs. But today, it was Case Keenum just playing good football with a good football team. And the Vikings have had so much adversity. They lost Dalvin Cook early. They lost Sam Bradford, and they just won't stop. They're playing great defense. In this game, one of the Rams starting cornerbacks went down. When that happened, they just picked on him with Alan Thielen. Alan Thielen had a monster game today. A little bit concerning, the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Giants today in overtime. And this is very, very concerning. The Chiefs started out 5-0. I think they're still a good team, but they've lost 4 out of their last 5 games. Now, this is an Andy Reid coach team. And they are led by Alex Smith. They have a great rookie in Kareem Hunt. They have a superstar in Tyreek Hill, and they have Travis Kelce. So they have some very, very good pieces of this team, but they're at the point now in their season where they need to start winning football games. And when you come out and you lose against the Giants, that's huge.
And I'll tell you what, they were the first 4 weeks of the season,
Dominant.
of the season, they were the best. They were the best team in the NFL. And now so much has changed. They look not only very beatable, but they look like at this point, there's a chance they might not even make the playoffs at all.
Yeah, so they're going to have to turn it around. And I think that this is a team that can. The Saints turned it around. The Saints were 0-2 at the beginning of the season. They were looking bad. The defense was looking terrible. The offense couldn't get anything going. Now they've won 8 straight. So,
including today against the Washington Redskins. And as someone who is a big fan of the Washington Redskins like you are, that was not exactly,
close doesn't count. And that's something Jay Gruden said at the end of the game press conference. Close doesn't count. The Redskins could have won that game. But now the Saints have been saying for a long time that they want to transition into more of a running game. And they've been just spouting off about that for a couple of years now. Well, this year they've actually done it. They made addition by subtraction by getting rid of Adrian Peterson and just focusing with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara in the running game. And they are the best 1-2 punch in the league now. And so they've been running the ball a lot, getting their running backs very much involved. But in a game with 3 minutes left, down 2 scores, they put the ball in the hands of a guy. What's his name? Oh, yeah, Drew Brees. And Drew Brees just picked apart the Washington Redskins. As a Redskins fan, it was hard to watch. But at the same time, you got to see one of the best quarterbacks in the league just go to work with 3 minutes left and just ripped a pretty good Washington defense apart.
So I know also as well at this point in time, excuse me. So we talked about Kansas City being at one time the best team in the NFL. Right now, there's a couple other teams that have now supplanted Kansas City as the best team in the NFL. My picks right now are Philadelphia and New England because they both mauled over playoff contenders last year in the Oakland Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and Philadelphia did it in prime time tonight in front of everybody, so everybody got to see it. Now, I mentioned on your show the last time we met, I talked about Tyron Smith, the starting left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, being out and how I thought that was a pretty big deal. It ended up being a big deal. Dak Prescott was absolutely harassed by the Eagles defense, and the Eagles defense does that to a lot of people. So they have a very good defense. They have a very good offensive line. That offensive line, between having LeGarrette Blount and now Jay Ajayi in an offensive line that can pull and trap linemen the way that they can, they don't even need a guy like Carson Wentz. Oh, but they have Carson Wentz. Oh, wait, they still have Carson Wentz, who is turning out to be a very, very good quarterback. He is making really good decisions under pressure. He's not giving the ball away a lot. When he has to, he can take off running. This is an Eagles team that does a lot of things really well. And at the time in the season where you really start wanting to get into playoff shape, They are looking the best of any team in the NFL right now, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Right now, I've got a Philadelphia New England meeting right now at the Super Bowl. It's obviously not a done deal, but both those teams are looking really strong at this point in
They're
time.
looking really good, and it seems like the Steelers have had ups and downs this season. It seems like that they are definitely trending back up. And with New England, even when New England isn't playing very well, they're still a really great team. So when you're talking about looking forward to the Super Bowl, I think you're talking about just a handful of teams, and I think you're right. I think it's New England. I think it's the Eagles. Pittsburgh, we need to talk about. And then, there's the Rams, the Vikings, a couple other teams that are good, but they're just not playing at the level. And we're about 2/3 of the way through the season, and the really good teams are starting to rise to the top. And yeah, I think a New England Philadelphia Super Bowl is probably a really good call right now.
One last thing before we hit on some of the surprise or some of the best performances in fantasy this weekend. The Los Angeles Chargers. I can't figure them out. They look so good today, and at just points in time where you got to scratch your head and say to yourself, why can't this team win consistently? Because they seem to have many of those pieces already all together.
And you can even look back to last year where there were so many games where they were just inventing ways to lose. And it was the same thing at the beginning of this season. There were so many games that they just coughed up and found a way to lose. Well, they faced a Buffalo team that, oh man. Okay, so last week they benched Tyrod Taylor, the starting quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. The team benched him and went with Nate Peterman and rookie. So the rookie goes out there, throws 5 interceptions. Now, they were not all his fault, but the Chargers were putting so much pressure on the Bills that it was forcing these mistakes. So this rookie quarterback goes into the first half, throws 5 interceptions, and at halftime, they decided they want to start Tyrod Taylor again. And I would have very much liked to have been in the locker room and heard that conversation between the coach and the quarterback that they just benched. Hey,
As would I.
Hey, can you come in and maybe start again, please? Very, very awkward. But you did see a lot of good things from this Chargers team on both sides of the ball. And they do have some pieces on defense. They're starting to really come into form. Not sure how much momentum or how far the momentum from this game is going to go. But it was one of those teams that you just knew was better than they are. And they played like it today against a Buffalo team that's kind of faltering a little bit as of late.
That's true. Once again, this is Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. Also, check out his great site, ffpaydirt.com, and his awesome Facebook group page, Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast, their group page on Facebook. You want to ask a question on your team, waiver wire pickup, trades, a whole 9 yards. You want to go ahead and check out Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast on Facebook, the group page where there's over 250 people there that have your same interests on your fantasy football team. You just throw those questions out and they definitely do get answered.
It's all about helping each other make better football decisions, make better fantasy football decisions.
And that's what everybody needs, that winning edge, that little edge, that maybe that sound piece of advice that will not only carry them into the playoffs, but carry them all the way through to a championship. So before we head on out, were there any real notable names or real performances that you think people needed to keep an eye on this weekend or need to maybe start thinking about as far as making them a mainstay on their roster and their starting lineups?
Well, Alan Thielen in Minnesota, he just keeps getting better and better. And Case Keenum has a lot of trust with him. Now, Stephon Diggs is still there, but Stephon Diggs is going to take the number one corner. When they face a defense and they have a number one corner, they're going to put him up against Stephon Diggs. And Alan Thielen, with his speed, they're really finding ways to take advantage of that. And it's not just all 9 routes, just go down the field. They're doing some crossing routes, getting him in space and letting him use the speed to turn the corner and get upfield. So Adam Thielen is really coming on. The Bears finally got Tariq Cohen involved again. Not sure how long that's going to last. But if you're talking about running backs right now that you want a piece of going into the fantasy playoffs, you want pieces of that Saints backfield. Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, they're both startable every single week. If you had a team where you had both of them, you could start both of them and be just fine.
Awesome advice indeed. Once again, it's Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. He is available, like I said, he is having a show drop every Tuesday and Saturday. You got to check it out on Apple Podcasts, Libsyn, SoundCloud, Overcast.fm, and Player.fm. Tyler, it's always awesome to hear from you. Definitely looking forward to previewing Week 12 in the NFL because it's getting close to the nitty-gritty time when it comes to the fantasy football playoff scene. Yep. And just looking forward to that as well. But you'll be back later in the show.
Yes.
After Ben Arnault drops his knowledge on some great Thanksgiving tips, you're going to be back to share your thoughts, and I will as well, on our picks for this Black Friday season.
Yes, sir. See you in a few.
Sounds good to me. And definitely, you got to check out his podcast, Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast. So great to have him on. That's Tyler Baker, and we'll be catching him again real soon, right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out another jam-packed show. I'll tell you what, it's the Pop Culture Cosmos Show. My name is Gerald Glassford. Once again, we are just so awesome. Just so excited to have you part and listening to the show. What a packed show. And I just want to say thank you, first off, to Brent Shelton from bfads.net. That's bfads.net. Also as well, Mike Crockett from the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing, and Ben Arnault from Smoking Hot Confessions. Tell you what, all three of them, just so great to have them on. And Ben Arnault, he's going to be dropping some holiday knowledge in the month of December and dropping some more great holiday cooking tips indeed at a show in one of our shows in December. So check that out when he comes back on. But I'll tell you what, it's been a great time indeed having Mr. Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast here with me to co-host the show.
Yes, sir.
And if you haven't, and if for any reason you can't check our show out on the Podcast Radio Network, there is no problem. That is no problem at all, because you can always check out our show on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, TuneIn, the Ace Podcast Network, Overcast, Player.fm, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, the Tangibound Network, Gunny Geek Network, Cast Crunch, and Social Podcasts, and of course our home site, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And don't forget to check out this man's podcast, the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast, on Libsyn, Apple Podcasts, Overcast.fm, Player.fm, and SoundCloud. Woo! What a day! What a show indeed,
Good one.
Tyler. Yes, a big one indeed. Thanks so much for being part of the show today. But before we head on out, my friend, we've got some knowledge to drop on people's heads in regards to Black Friday and some of our picks for the best, well, in our opinion anyways, Black Friday deals that you need to think about upcoming later this week. So I going to bequeath you first, sir, and let you take the floor first. And you tell everyone out there, what are your picks for Black Friday coming up?
There are a lot, and so many stores are trying to get a big piece of this Black Friday pie. And I think first and foremost, the biggest deal that I can see, the most mind-blowing deal that I can see is coming from Best Buy. It's a doorbuster in-store only deal, but it is a Sharp 50-inch LED 2160p smart 4K Ultra HD TV for $179.99. A 50-inch 4K Ultra HD TV for under $180. This is going to, we're going to see news reports about this. People are going to use their elbows and their fingernails to claw through people to get one of these things.
Well, I was just driving by a Best Buy earlier, and I was just checking out to see if anybody was already camped out, because they will camp out at Best Buy several days early.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that's a huge deal. Under 180 bucks for a 50-inch television. Yeah, we're going to see this on the news.
So what else? That is an incredible deal. So what else did you have in mind as far as great Black Friday deals out there that people need to be aware of?
Well, if you are in the market for an Xbox One S, the 500 gigabyte console, you can get them at Target. They're on sale for $189.99. And that will also come with a $25 Target gift card. So you can be out the door for about $164.99 on a brand new Xbox One S. Now, if you go over to Kohl's, you'll find it for the same base price of $189.99, but you'll also get a $45 in Kohl's Cash. Now, Kohl's Cash, you can't use it immediately. They give you a time frame. It's usually a week or so after you make a purchase. Then they give you a week or so to come in and use that Kohl's Cash. But if you shop often at Kohl's, or if there's one nearby, you can go in and get the console for $189.99. The $45 Kohl's Cash will bring that to about $144.99 for a brand new Xbox One S. That's incredible. That is dirt cheap.
And I'll tell you what, that the Xbox One S, as I mentioned on our previous show, the Xbox One S, if you have a 4K television or you're going to buy one like Tyler Baker just suggested, it streams in 4K and it is a 4K Blu-ray player. So that's something definitely you have to think about. The PlayStation 4, which I'm going to mention right now, which across the board, the 1 terabyte model is at $199. That's going to be great at all these retailers. That doesn't play 4K or stream 4K, but it has a larger library of games. That's one thing in its favor, which, obviously being the leader in this generation in sales, you do have a larger variety of games to play on it. So that's something everybody wants to consider there. But if they want to go to these retailers, Kohl's, again, is doing that same Kohl's Cash deal, but $60 on the PlayStation 4, $199, 1 terabyte model. So that's just to let you know. And basically, Kohl's Cash is their way of ensuring that you're going to shop at Kohl's during the holiday season later on. So if you're interested in the Kohl's Cash, Xbox or the PlayStation, you're going to get at least $45, if not $60 there, depending on which one you get. So that's a great deal indeed.
Yeah, that's a huge discount.
Exactly. And someone who has always posted Black Friday ads, but they really haven't been that great over the years. And both Josh and I have said some things about it in the past that maybe they weren't the greatest on doing their Black Friday deals comparatively to some other major retailers. But GameStop is really kicking in its heels as far as the PlayStation 4 is concerned. So if you get that same $199 1 terabyte unit, you can get $50, a $50 gift card right there from GameStop. So if you buy the $199 1 terabyte unit, there's $50 gift card attached to it from GameStop. So that's at huge. Least one. Yeah, that's a current game right there because everything will be on sale. So they've got all the major titles right now for under $50 right now on sale, or at that time on sale. So definitely a great deal indeed.
And the GameStop card and the Target card, they don't go bad. Whereas the Kohl's Cash, you have a window that you can use it. If something happens and you miss that window, you're out.
That is an excellent point, and I'm glad you brought that up. So if you are going to Kohl's, you've got to make sure you look at the dates on when that's effective and make sure you go to Kohl's to get that cash.
Yeah, to get the full value out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So what else did you have in mind as far as Black Friday deals this holiday season?
Well, I was browsing around and I saw that the GoPro Hero 5 Black at Target is $349, which is already a really good price. But then if you get it on Black Friday, you get a $50 gift card to Target. So what that does is that makes available GoPro's latest, best action camera for less than $300 That's a pretty big deal. I ride a motorcycle. I have a camera on my helmet. It's not a GoPro, but I use mine every day. Every single time that I ride, I use one. So if you're in the market for an action camera, the latest best GoPro you can get for under $300, that's huge. That's a big deal.
Very nice indeed. Very, very nice. It's like you said, especially for something if you're motorcycle rider, action, if you're skydiving, whatever, it's definitely a great deal indeed, especially with, skiing as well. So
Yeah.
definitely something to look forward to there. But I know you had some couple of places where people don't traditionally think about when it comes to Black Friday deals that you really picked up on. You did some snooping and some investigating.
I did.
And you picked up a couple good cents right there. So tell us exactly what you had in mind when it comes to Black Friday deals.
Well, as much as people like to get televisions and video games for their Christmas presents, sometimes you want something a little bit more practical. While I was digging around, and on Groupon, you can find the Bob Sweep you can find the Bob Sweep robotic vacuum cleaner and mop, and it starts at $129. Now, this is one of those little kind of UFO things that doesn't fly. It's just kind of the saucer that goes around and it programs itself to contour its pattern according to your room. Well, this one has all the bells and whistles. It cleans, it mops, it sweeps, it has a UV sterilizing light on it. It has a HEPA filter. This thing is amazing. It even comes with a remote control. So if you want to, say, get out your action camera that you got really cheap from Target and set it up and terrorize your pets and small children with the little vacuum with the remote control, you can do that. So for $129, you can never sweep or mop again. That is a bargain.
Definitely indeed. And then I know also as well, you read something from social media that really piqued your interest as well.
And I was thinking about all the college students when I found this. So I was on Facebook, and this company, electroniclongboardoutlet.com, they make electronic longboards. Longboards are the longer skateboards that are much more stable, and you don't do a lot of tricks on them. You just kind of go point A to point B. Well, they have an entry model that is $99, and it has a handheld controller. You can adjust the throttle, the brake, you can set the cruise control. Has some really cool features on it. Super good grip tape to make it nice and stable, durable wheels. And for $99, you can get one of these things. They go 11 miles an hour, up to 11 miles an hour, and you can go about 10 miles per charge. So if you have a college student that lives 2-3 miles from a campus, they won't ever have to take the bus again. They can hop on their longboard, not break a sweat with their little controller in their hand. And for $99, man, what a great toy. It's not just a toy. It's something that someone can actually use. But for $99, that's huge.
Absolutely. That's a great idea on seeing everybody just streaking across campus or wherever you want to use it, at the beach, the mall, what have you. It's definitely a great idea indeed. Well, there's some great picks from you as far as for Black Friday. I don't know. I feel like the challenge is on for me. But
let's hear it.
All right. Well, I'll start off with this.
Okay.
We talked about obviously the 4K TVs that are out there, some of the price leaders that are out there as far as from what you said, Best Buy and also Walmart, Target, Kohl's, the whole 9 yards. Obviously those entry-level TVs, some great deals indeed. If you want just that basic 4K TV, definitely something that you definitely can't afford to miss. But if you're looking for something a little bit higher realm, and in fact, something that's going to be a whole bunch of money off, and that's going to truly provide you with that total cinematic experience. Sony at Best Buy, the same place that Tyler Baker was just talking about, at Best Buy, Best Buy has a Sony 4K Ultra HD with high dynamic range. That's truly the best way to see television right now. That is going to be available for $2,000 right on the dot, $800 off. It's a 75-inch TV, 2160p, again, Ultra HD, but with high dynamic range. $800 off. My goodness, indeed.
Wow.
What a great price for that. It just truly just the high end of television right there that's going to be on sale at that low of a price. So people, if you're looking for a little bit higher end TV and you want to go ahead and invest on it, can't get much better than that as an option right there. Exactly. Because the high dynamic range really is the kicker if you're going to be spending anywhere near $1,000 to $2,000 anyways. So definitely that's a great choice indeed.
Good.
Don't thank you. I'm just trying to keep up with you, man. Just trying to keep up with you. But I also wanted to make sure, and everybody knows out there, we talked about the gaming systems as far as our choices on that. But when you're talking about a little bit more about gaming, you definitely want to, if you're into the PC and hardcore PC gamer, but you're on the go, you need to go ahead and have a laptop that's going to be able to produce that high output for you, because all those games are pushing the limits and testing the limits of what's available on the market. You got to go high end. Well, I'll tell you what, if you go high end, you got to go with Alienware. And at Dell, the savings are up to just about $500 off on some of their items. In fact, there's 300, there's 200, there's 300 and $500 off Alienware products. Just about, okay, $475 we'll say. All right, close to 500 rounded off. Anyways, but it's just amazing price. And, depending on what you're looking for, if you want an 8 gig, a 16 gig, or something with a higher processor, the fastest i7s around, definitely want to look at as far as either the Dell Inspiron that they have out there, or the Alienware units, the 15 and the 17 that they have on sale, including the 17, the big boy, the bad boy of them all, with that's a laptop, remind you. It's a laptop, so you can take it with you and play high-end gaming with a i7 processor, 16 gigs of memory, 1 terabyte of hard drive, 128 gigabyte SSD, and a 6 gig NVIDIA GeForce GTX graphics card, full HD, just, my gosh, the whole 9 yards. It's ready for even virtual reality if you're into that as well. And that's almost $500 off at $1,599. So that definitely, you want to take a look at that as well if you're into that high-end gaming and you really need a workhorse for that.
Yeah, so that's a nice, I actually saw that because Dell's coming out with a lot of Black Friday specials. But yeah, I saw that, and that's not really what I'm into, but I know my cousin Dan is, and I know that he's probably trying to find it in his budget to get one of those on Friday.
Well, if that can't play the games that you want off of Steam, then nothing will.
Forget
so definitely that's great. It's a great deal indeed, especially for almost $500 off.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, he went off the beaten path as far as his choices, Tyler Baker did. So I'm going to go off a little bit off the beaten path and mention a staple every Black Friday that always gets looked at, definitely gets shopped at, because I see the chaos that goes on when I'm there, but doesn't always get talked about when you consider the TVs and the consumer electronics and everything else out there. Old Navy from the 22nd to the 24th, 50% off your entire purchase.
What?
Whether it's their sales or whatnot, I don't know how they're working it out. It just says 50% off the entire purchase, including thousands of styles, $10 and under.
Wow.
This awesome indeed. And if you shop on the 24th itself, they're going to go ahead and put on sale their cozy socks, the nice warm socks for every member of the family, up to 10, $1 each for a pair of cozy socks. And if you do buy it, for every dollar pair sold, they'll up to $1 million they'll give to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. So it all goes.
That is awesome.
It's a great cause. It's a great idea. And that's if you shop on there on the 24th and you buy those $1 cozy socks.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the 22nd to the 24th, it's 50% off your entire purchase. No strings attached.
Wow.
I know lately they've been going 40% off, and if you've got the card, their department store card, their Old Navy card, they're giving the extra kicker on that. No kickers, no nothing. It's just a straight 50% off the entire purchase. That's basically what I'm seeing. That's basically what it says. There's no ands, ifs, or buts on it. It just says 50% off the entire purchase from the 22nd to the 24th on November.
Wow,
And
that is good to know. Wow.
yes. So, and I'll tell you what, if you go there, you got to make one of that your first stops, because that place is chaos. And they have their bins. Every year I go there, the lines are long there. I know that includes online. Online is, there's going to be a tremendous amount of wait there, or probably trying to go get a lot of stuff there. But if you go in store, there's long lines there. I can guarantee you, and everything is a mess, and it's just so hard.
Yes.
There's these nice, neat folded piles become like real big
mush
mountains. Tyler, I'm telling you, I've
and
been
they have
there.
all these employees that are just trying to fold.
No, they give up,
but they can't. They can't.
They just go to the register. They're at the register and in the dressing rooms.
Yeah.
Someone who used to be a department store manager, just, at that point in time, you just go at the registers, in the safety spots, in the security spots. That's all you are. Those displays, they're trashed and they're done.
They're done.
Yeah, they're done. You don't bother mixing up. If people want 50% off, you know what? They're gonna dig. They're gonna go. Yep. They're gonna find it,
and they're gonna do it quickly before everything is gone. So
exactly, because they need to get in line, because that line is long in Old Navy each and every year. But I tell you what, it's all worth it, because it's not just selected products. It's not just it's not the credit card if you have it. It's the full kicker for everybody. 50% off your entire purchase, 22nd to the 24th.
Yeah, that's pretty big. I think I will have to make a trip to Old Navy for sure.
Same here. I do every year as well, and that's just definitely someplace I can't afford to miss on Black Friday or thereabouts.
But I don't know about Best Buy. That place might be a madhouse. I mean, pure civil unrest.
It is every year I go there too. So yes, can't forget about that. But I'll tell you what, Tyler, it's definitely great to be talking all these Black Friday deals. And if anybody out there has any questions or wants to share Black Friday deals on their own, that I can go ahead and send out on all of our social media networks, send us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Mannequin Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. So Tyler, you made it through. You made it through a whole show.
It was awesome. So much fun.
Oh, that's indeed. It's been great having you here. Yeah, I may not want Josh to come back. No, I'm just kidding, Josh. If you're listening, just kidding.
Just kidding, Josh. Get better soon, even though you're not sick.
No, he's not sick. He's got, he's got vacation syndrome right there. It's very terrible indeed.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure being on. It was a pleasure.
Well, it's definitely a great pleasure to have you on, and my friend, just truly wishing you all the best this Thanksgiving, and to all of our listeners, and Josh, of course, as well. Safe travels, my friend out there. But to everyone out there, safest of travels. And we here at the Pop Culture Cosmos wish you all the best this Thanksgiving season. Any last thoughts, or?
I think that was it.
All right, sounds good. Well, again, for Gerald Glassford, so for Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Paydirt Podcast, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great Turkey Day.